Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh my God, if I can stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just that.
I saw Sarah smiling. Welcome to our Monday, June 12th school board meetings. We will start with our agenda approval, deletions, additions. Dr. Veraco.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. You do have a revised agenda before you this evening. The revisions are under Roman numeral 7B1, Mrs. Mooch's personnel, 7D1, Mrs. Castaneda's professional leave requests, and 7F4 under Mr. Ledger's thing seeking action on the Bibbich building project, bid package 12. Thank you.
Move to approve the revised agenda.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin. Second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Is there any correspondence this evening?
There is not.
And we'll move right into our liaison committee updates. Mr. Marshall.
Thank you. There's nothing to report this afternoon.
Mrs. Kelly.
I also have nothing to report for my committees either.
Dr. Medlin.
Nothing to report, thank you.
Dr. Malco.
Well, I am going into Lake Central Education Foundation meeting right after that, and a reminder, if anybody would like to get involved with a great, great organization, do let us know. We provide grant money to offer innovative classroom instruction opportunities for our students at Lake Central. I will say that they are sponsoring some professional development on today, that was today and also tomorrow, collaborating with other educators in the area. And with Dyer Parks, it's really, really looking nice. If you have not been out on Calumet, take a drive out there. They've done a lot of work and it's looking just like a really fun place. What is so cool is the way they built the building in the middle. So it has 4 sides, and on each side is a scoreboard, so you could have 4 different games going on at 4 different fields. I thought that was creative, don't you? Well, anyway, that's my report. Thank you.
And I have nothing for my reports, so we'll move into our official school board business topics consent agenda. Dr. Veraco.
Thank you again. Seek board approval for the minutes from our regular meeting on May 15th, and seek board approval for the claims, payroll, and extracurricular expenditures you received in your packets.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
I'll second that.
Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. There's no public comments regarding action items, so we'll move right into our official school board business topics regular agenda. Dr. Veraco.
Thank you. So we are going to begin our recognitions this evening with Homan Elementary Word Masters Challenge. And who will be presenting for Homan? There's Mrs. Tucker. I'd use it so that they can
Okay, well, I first want to thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. We would like to recognize Mrs. Udich's 3rd graders, who are now 4th graders, for their nation's top 10 finish in the Word Masters Challenge this year. And we also have a special recognition for Abby Trevino for achieving the highest honors. I'm now going to turn it over to Mrs. Udich.
Congratulate my class. Thank you for coming tonight. All your hard work and effort. It's a great challenge to make it into a national competition such as that. And analogies are very tricky, and I just want to commend you for our work and all of you kids that are here tonight for working so hard in Word Masters. So thank you. I'm going to call your name. I have certificates for you to come up. So congratulations to Eli Abbott. like them to walk down?
Can you
Okay,
come down this
you're gonna-
row here?
Eli, you're going to shake everyone's hand. So the board, boys and girls, are up here to also congratulate you and shake your hand. Okay? Holly Bachman. You get it. Lauren Bergman. Aiden Billmeyer.
Keep it moving. Nicholas is in here.
Good job.
Peyton Gogol. Raven Ginde. Harper Hat. Maddie, no. Sorry. No. Yeah. Sophie Lisowski. Brooklyn Padilla. Caitlin Peters. Kayla Prince. Hunter Sanford. Jordan Smith. Abigail Trevino. Come here, Abby. Congratulations. Cameron Wardrop. Mia Wilsons. Congratulations, Mia. Alina Hayes. Thank you again. Some of the kids came in late. I wanted to make sure. Oh, yes. Aiden Hicks. Sorry, Aiden. Congratulations, Aiden. Good job. Thank you. I want to make sure. Yep. Boys and girls.
Next up, we have Mrs. Lavin with Watson Elementary.
Hello, everyone, and it is an exciting time when we get to recognize our students and staff for hard work. Watson is also here for the Word Masters Challenge, so I'd like to invite Mrs. Sherry Thompson up. There she is. She will recognize her former third grade students who are now fourth graders, and congratulations.
Okay, Charlie Bishop. Bishop Duncan. Brantley Grove. Callie Kiefer. Bea Lewis.
Sorry. 1 second.
Lily Marcos. Riley O'Callahan. Go, sweetheart. Claire Pajak. Mason Schroeder. Logan Teague. And Kaya Toth. Here you go. Thank you. Did anyone else from Watson show up that I didn't see? Oh, Yvonne, come on up. And Yvonne Angelic. Right here?
Can't forget anybody.
And who's, oh, and Penny Garza snuck in. There you go, sweetie. Did I get everybody from Watson? Okay.
Did you see the news today? 4 juvenile children that were survivors of that plane crash. There was a plane crash in the Amazon jungles. A mother, a pilot, they were deceased. But the 4 kids survived 40 days in the jungle. Wow. And a 1-year-old was 13, 9, 4, and 1. It's remarkable. Yeah, okay.
And now, last but not least, Bibbich Elementary.
Good evening. My name is Allison Petrillia. I'm the principal at Bibbich, and we are also here to celebrate Mrs. Prairie's 3rd grade class, now 4th graders, who participated in the National Word Masters Challenge. They do this 3 times a year with almost 125,000 other students across the nation. In the Word Masters Challenge, students learn new words that are well above grade level and then create analogies using those words. Mrs. Prairie's class placed 1st in the nation in December, 2nd in the nation. Second in the nation in March, and then 3rd in the nation in May. We are so proud of our students and their magnificent achievements. We did have some perfect score winners, and those were Owen Douglas, Zachary DeLure, Wilson Lararte, Jacob Munoz, and Avery Osan. Talk. Talk about remarkable. Congratulations and well done. Mrs. Prairie, would you like to join me?
I'd just like to say this class worked very hard on this, and I'm extremely proud. So. Okay, Abram Beeshold. Eric Carlson. Lily Kupit. Owen Douglas. Riley Felady, Christian Cruy, Griffin Miller, Jacob Munoz, Cameron Nelson, Ruby Paul. That's his, there you go. There you go. Alexis Papiella. And you're not seeing double, Nicole Papiella. Madeline Saxma. Reagan Sheltons. There she comes. There we go.
Future track star.
There you go. Mackenzie Solarczyk. Ella Thompson. And Anna Voss. Not here tonight, we have Henry Bukowski, Zachary Delory, Ronan Fetko, Libby Kruger, Wilson Loretti, and can't get this one. Oh, Avery Osan. So they should be recognized.
We want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. Before you depart, though, we would like for the parents and loved ones of these outstanding students to stand to be recognized at this time.
K-Trap where you never made it.
I was telling somebody the other day, nobody ever called that the K-Trap. They just said central office. Everybody calls that the K-Trap. So she got better. She ended up better.
Okay.
She has a room named after that. Everybody calls it that.
I hear you. You got it.
Aw, group hug. Look.
One mom to get on the news. Can you do that again?
Right? We could have a kumbaya moment.
That was quite a summer turnout.
We're so excited.
Celebrity status, you know?
You have a lot to be proud of. A lot of successes
It's all
out there.
plastered on my face. I know, right? Not gonna catch me.
When you were at Hammond, did they have recognitions like this? They did. Okay, I see. Yeah. I've never attended a Hammond school board meeting. So. Okay. Yeah. Good for you. Okay.
Yeah, it's nice to have a full house for a good reason. Speak.
One-on-ones there.
You know, Dr. Bracco, that was a
Shop it
great...
back in?
Dr. Bracco?
Yeah.
That was a great turnout, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we should start having all of our meetings at 4:30.
In the summer, though, it's.
Okay.
Okay, my second item this evening is just to update the board one final time on the discussion process. We do have, during the summer, historically, we have done our discussion back-to-back with our negotiating process. There are some people who are involved in the discussion process who are not involved in the negotiation process. So beginning July 1, if a non-association member wants to sit in on the discussion process, the law says they are entitled to do so. They still would not be sitting in on the negotiation process, as that is restricted to self-selected members of the association. So I just wanted to make that point clarified, because we will be meeting with our association prior to the next public board meeting. We are still expecting some more details on how the discussion process would work in the smoothest way possible, because building an agenda when you're not working with one individual organization does get more complicated. More to be seen on that, so we'll have some updates for that later this summer. Any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our Director of Human Resources Personnel, Mrs. Mucha.
Thank you very much. I am recommending the following personnel items be approved.
I'd like to make a motion to approve those.
Motion by Mrs. Kelly,
I'll second that.
second by Dr. Milko. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. My second item is the terms of employment for certified employees that I sent to you through email last week, and I'm asking for your approval for that handbook.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Malco,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our Director of Primary Education, Dr. Bracy.
Good afternoon. I'm seeking approval for the professional leave request provided in your packets. Move to approve the professional leave requests.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin and,
Oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I'll second that.
Mrs. Kelly will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. I'd also like to let the board know we administered our early entrance screenings for kindergarten last week. Of the 22 children tested, 5 of them will be joining us for kindergarten this year. Any questions?
Would you repeat that again for me, please?
So of the 22 children who were tested, 5 of them qualified to enter kindergarten this year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And how is summer school going? Can I ask you about that?
Great. We are on day 9, 8, I believe. It's going great.
That's good.
Because that seemed to be a more involved summer school program than in past years, in looking at the roster.
So this year, we had about the same as last year, maybe a few less. We had about 350 students this year for elementary, K through 4.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Now on to our Director of Secondary Education, Mrs. Castaneda.
Thank you. For my first item, I'm seeking your approval for the revised professional leave requests that you received this evening.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Malco,
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. For my second item, I am seeking your approval for the field trip request.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Marshall, and I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then for my last item, I just wanted to update the board on the new prioritized Indiana academic standards. Last week on Wednesday, June 7th, the State Board of Education met and voted to approve the new prioritized standards for language arts, math, science, and social studies. Per the Indiana code that was passed last year, the DOE reduced the standards for each grade level by at least 25%. A lot of what was done was the elimination of the repetition of standards through multiple grade levels. However, they did merge some standards together, especially in the area of language arts, so the cuts may not truly be quite as significant as they seem. For example, at the State Board of Ed meeting, a lot of attention was given to third grade language arts, where they talked about it being reduced from 62 standards to 34, which sounds impressive. However, they merged what was formerly separate standards for reading literature, reading nonfiction, and reading vocabulary into one new overall section of reading comprehension. But it's still a very welcome change. The Department of Ed is taking steps so that way teachers aren't trying to cover something that's a mile wide and an inch deep every year. They also marked roughly 30% of the new standards as essential for each grade level, which will hopefully focus us more on what we need to prepare for state testing. The schools, including those at Lake Central, will begin revamping our curriculum and implementing them this school year, but iLearn won't be overhauled until 2 years from now. At that same State Board of Ed meeting, what they talked about was creating checkpoints about 3 times during the school year that would be short, maybe only 20 questions, and that would give teachers data that could actually drive their instruction while they have those students. In the past, when we get iLearn data in the summer in July, it's not very useful because those students have moved on. But those checkpoints would then allow teachers to be able to use that data to see where they might still have gaps and go back and do some reteaching and remediation. So again, that also seems like a welcome change. They also alluded to the fact that the new iLearn assessment may be condensed since the number of standards for each grade level are condensed, which also is something that we would be very appreciative of. So there'll be a lot of work moving forward, but it all seems like pretty good news. Any questions?
Yeah, so Mrs. Castaneda, then with the assessments that you mentioned, the ongoing frequent assessments, will those be a requirement, or they're just suggested that teachers do those, or how will that be used?
They haven't given us a ton of information. That was the first we heard of it. It sounds like it would be required, but it's not something that would be reported out the same way at the end of the summer they report out all of the iLearn scores across the state. It would just be for teachers and parents to have that data, but it does sound like they would be required to participate.
Okay. And then do you know how the standards now compare for the state of Indiana with other states in our nation?
So previously, we were about 80 to 85% Common Core. With these new standards just being released, we're still trying to wrap our minds around what that correlation is between them.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now on to our Director of Student Services, Mrs. Gramala.
Thank you. My first item is to seek approval for the professional leave request that was included in the board packet.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Malko,
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
And then my second item came up after I spoke with Dr. Malkow briefly at graduation, and she asked me a couple questions about Campania, and I figured it was time to update everyone. So Campania Academy, you know, we've had a change in leadership there, and they're now affiliated with Jabalt out of southern Indiana. They saw a big decrease in students and currently are at 18 students living on campus at Campania. We've been told that their goal is to get up to about 24 students throughout next school year, and not much more than that at this point. We did pull many of our teachers back from campus last year when the numbers dropped so drastically. So currently, our plan for next year is to have one full-time teacher and then 2 half-time teachers. And those half-time teachers will be split between Campania Academy and Lake Central High School. We will also have 2 paraprofessionals on staff that will be full-time at Campania. Those had been reassigned to other buildings last year. So if you drive by campus, and I think this is what prompted Dr. Malkow's question, they are no longer using the A-frame building, which is the closest building to Klein. So that parking lot is empty all the time, so it really sort of looks like campus is completely empty. But they've shifted. That building was not in great shape, and I suspect they may be taking it down at some point. That's just a guess on my part. But they've moved their offices to more of where the students are located, so that's why it looks kind of empty over there. So that's where we're at right now and what our plans are for next school year. And that's all I have.
Sure. Oh, did you call on me?
Go ahead.
Okay. So when you say there will be one teacher there next year?
One full-time teacher and then 2 half-time teachers.
So what subjects will they teach, and will it be multi-grade?
Yes,
Multi-age?
yeah, we're always multi-grade there. Students are split. The population now with the new ownership seems to be skewing a little bit younger than what we've had previously. But we will have Play-Doh available for instruction, and then we have a math teacher and an English teacher.
Okay.
So the students get their core math and English through a teacher, and then Play-Doh, we have all the other classes that are available.
And that's a good program for students that need to catch up.
Yes.
And then my last question would be, will it continue to be called Campagna, or do we know yet?
When they announced the involvement with Jabalt, we were told that they were keeping the Companion name because it was so well-known here in Northwest Indiana.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to our Director of Facilities, Mr. Ledger.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. Good evening, Board. I have a few items that need action tonight. My first item is to award and execute the contract for the Clark Middle School South Ring Road resurfacing and paving. We've been working on that in the last couple of years. We did the west side last year and the east side 2 years. I had 3 bidders bid this in May. Milestone Contractors, formerly of Walsh and Kelly, Reith Riley, and Site Services. It's approximately 2,600 square yards, and all bidders were within 110 square yards, so it's very competitive. Milestone was at $91,480. Reith Riley was at $77,175, and Site Services, the low bidder, was at $71,300. And so I'd like to have approval to award that project to Site Services.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
I'll second that.
second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item is to seek your approval to award and execute the contract to Musco Lighting for the high school varsity baseball and softball lights in the amount of $993,930. I'll kind of skip ahead to my item number 3C, but last week I attended the St. John Plan Commission meeting, on June 7th, and we did get formal approval from the town to go forward with this project. So I'd like to get this awarded and get the project rolling. It's a single-source bid because, Musco is the biggest game in the nation. They do most of the athletic lighting, not only for the pros, colleges, and high schools, but they're also approved with the Sourcewell Cooperative in the state of Indiana for municipalities and higher education as well as public ed. So they are pre-approved with the state co-op. So I'd like to seek your approval for that.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Marshall,
Second.
second by Dr. Malko. Any discussion, questions?
I am absolutely thrilled that you have moved so quickly on this. Thank you, Mr. Ledgert. We've just been waiting forever, and this process hasn't been waiting forever. I'm just saying, we've been without lights for years, many, many years, and it's time that we get up there with the big boys. And so, thank you for your diligence. Appreciate it.
Thank you. My next item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. It's all good.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you and thank you. Next item are just some recaps. First off, for the Bibbage project, since we last met, we really started in full force. We have removed all the trees. We've stripped the west side of the building, and our building pads for the 10 classroom addition as well as the 4 classroom addition are up to grade. We are now working on the parent pickup drop-off road and turnaround. We're still importing soils for that. I'm hoping by end of the week we should be pretty close there. We'll then move over to the east side where the parking lot is and start stripping there and head behind to the cafeteria expansion. We should have some rebar being delivered late this week, and we hope to start the footings and foundations for the 10 classroom and 4 classroom additions next week there. Today we started inside the existing building. I met with Mr. Pestralia last week, and a couple weeks ago, and we decided to kind of help us out for this school year, we are taking down all the ceilings and lights in the existing corridors and hallways so that when we have fall break, winter break, maybe even like when we have early dismissal, my guys can get in there, run the infrastructure that has to go through those hallways to the new addition and as far as the HVAC mechanical project. So that's to kind of get ahead of the game so it's ready so when we have the empty building, we can utilize it without having to take down tile. And we're putting up some temporary lights. It's going to be brighter there than it was before we started. So everything other than that, you'll just see you'll see the exposed steel, but otherwise it's going to be fine. So we started that. We'll have that done this week as well. So before I move on to item B, I guess, are there any questions?
So what do you anticipate as far as the move-in date next
Well,
school year?
right now, it's scheduled to be done in August of '24.
Wouldn't that be nice if it could go well?
Yeah, if things go well. Since we last met too, I've received both permits for the project for the addition as well as the mechanical project. When I submitted those applications to the town of Dyer, I had requested that they consider giving us a reduced fee for our permits as far as partnership with our community and everything else. And I'm very happy to report our total permit fee for both projects was $110,468. They reduced our permit fees by 60%, which basically was a savings of $66,281, which can be put back to award the project. So I'd like the board and to understand how great that was, as well as to thank Dave Hine, the town manager, Brian Lane, the operations manager, as well as the Dyer Town Council for partnering up and giving us that great 60% reduced fee. Any questions on that? Next, Grimmer HVAC project. We literally started draining the system at noon on May 25th when the teachers were at the food trucks. And we drained it that afternoon and all day the 26th. And so then May 29th, I had probably 40 guys there taken with basic doing the demolition. And also, all of our units arrived on the 29th as well. You probably saw them in the parking lot. I know Mrs. Kelly did. So Right now, we have completed all that demo. I have all my units on site with the exception of AHU 13 and the damper for AHU 14, which we're still looking at, but that won't really affect any of the occupied areas. 13's for boiler room and some of the kitchen area. So we are hoping to have all the 6-inch pipe done and installed by end of the week, this week, and then we'll move on to 3 and 4-inch, but we're going very well. We're working 5, 10-hour days there, but it's going very well. So far, so good there. So any questions on Grimmer? Thank you. Last but not least, back to the baseball and softball lights. As I said, we got approval last Wednesday. I will award this, with your approval tonight, I will award this tomorrow. Right now, the light standards and poles are about 12 weeks out. He thinks he can get me, if he gets it in this week, he thinks he can get me the anchor bolts and the foundation design bases right after the 4th of July. MCOR Hire is going to be the electrician on the project through Musco. I've talked to their VP, and provided we get our stuff, he's going to try to mobilize right after holiday, and we hope to get all the infrastructure in, all the underground in during the summer when school's not in session. And then we'll be ready in October when the light pole standards come, and we'll set all the standards. Believe it or not, the worst part of this is the guts, what we call the guts, all the breakers and all the switch gear for the 200 amp panels. We need 2 of them. We need a 200 amp panel for the baseball and 200 amp panel for the softball. Those are 26 weeks out right now, believe it or not. So I hope to have those right after the holidays, and then we'll hook everything up in January, and then we'll be ready for baseball and softball season in the spring. Any questions on any of the other projects? My revised addition here is to seek your approval to award and execute change order 1 to Gluth Brothers Roofing Company, Inc. for the Bibbich Building Project. This is bid package 12, roofing and metal wall panels. This is a change order for $14,795, and this occurred during the scope review after we opened bids and we awarded things. We scoped out everybody, and this was the only issue we had, and everybody was kind of a misclarification on the insulation on the metal wall panels and mezzanine. And Gluth was kind enough, and we all worked through it, and this is basically 50% of the cost, so we kind of split it, and I had the 50% also in the budget before we approved the budget, so it's covered, our 50% is covered, and he's going to take 50% off too, so it's for $14,795, and I seek your approval on that.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Mrs. Kelly,
Second.
second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now on to our Director of Business Services, Mr. James.
Thank you, Mrs. Suze. For the last few months, we've been talking about our upcoming GEO bond that we intend to do. We last did one in 2019, and we've traditionally done them about every 2 or 3 years, and we're actually 4 years out now at this point. So tonight, we are going to go through the process through multiple resolutions in order to get that process going. So the first thing we need to do is hold a public hearing on the projects and the additional appropriation that would be necessary to pay for the projects. And so at this time, I would ask the public if anyone had any comment regarding the GEO bonds and the additional appropriation at this time. Okay, that concludes the public hearing for the projects. So the next item on the agenda would be to adopt the 1028 resolution. The purpose of the resolution discloses what the project cost would be, and then what the estimated tax rate to our district would be. That will all depend on discussing with our financial advisors on whether or not we intend to have either a 5-year or a 7-year repayment. If we pay it back in 5 years, it would be about 4.8 cents added to the tax rolls. We are looking at probably more of a 7-year repayment, which would put the increase at about 3.3 cents. But the market is not very conducive right now to go to the market. There's a lot of school districts and governmental entities rushing to go to market this summer, and it's going to be in our best interest to wait and go on our own. So we'll probably won't sell the bonds for another few months, but this resolution estimates what the maximum amount would be, and we disclosed the 4.8 cents there. So I seek your approval on the 1028 resolution.
I would like to make a motion to make that recommendation.
We have a motion by Dr. Malco.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. The next resolution is the bond resolution itself. That resolution gives the parameters of the tax sale, and it lists the projects that we would be interested in using this bond money for. In your board packet, I have listed what the $9.9 million would be for. Just to kind of go through them quickly, as Mr. Ledger alluded to, we are going to do HVAC renovation in the current existing Bibbich site, not the addition, and that would be about $4.2 million. As you know, we received ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 dollars that are paying for the Grimmer HVAC project that is coming to an end, and then next year's Freshman Center HVAC project. Those two projects are going to cost about $1.6 million more than what we received in the ESSER dollars. So the GEO bond will use for that overage. So we're thankful for the ESSER dollars because those two projects needed to be done. And with that funding, we're going a long way, and we won't have to ask our taxpayers for as much money. The cost for the aforementioned baseball and softball lights will be part of this GEO bond. A lighting upgrade at the high school pool and here in the freshman center. The new band trailer, the one that's generally parked in the back, is very old and starting to get some safety concerns, and so we're looking to replace that. We're going to start paying for the replacement of our annual school buses and asphalt and roof repairs through GEO bonds. Mr. Ledger is in need of a maintenance and transportation payloader in order to help fill our trucks. And then we're looking at putting a small concrete pad at the Protsman playground, to help some of our students with special needs who don't necessarily have the ability because of their wheelchairs and so forth to get into the playground area itself. And we want to try to do something for them that they still can do some activities during recess. So that's an outline of what our intention is for the funds. So I'll ask if any questions, and if not, I seek your approval for the GEO bond resolution.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Kelly. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, now that the board has approved the resolutions, the last resolution is to authorize the sale for the $9.9 million of GEO bonds, and then this will then be an additional appropriation into our budget. These are not new, it's just the new money that we're receiving. This formally allows us to spend it. So I seek your approval on the additional appropriation resolution that was included in your packet.
Move for adoption of the additional appropriation resolution.
We have a motion by Dr. Medlin. I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. My next item is to seek your approval for the food service meal prices for the 23-24 school year. As I know in the packet, we are required to do an annual evaluation of what those rates are, and in order to still qualify for federal assistance, we need to occasionally raise our rates. And so in your packet, Mrs. Oliva has submitted what those proposed rates would be for 23-24. In essence, the paid breakfast amount would go from $2 to $2.25, and the paid lunch amount would go from $2.75 to $3 at the elementary level. At the secondary level, the breakfast would also increase from $2 to $2.25, and the lunch would increase from $3 to $3.25. So in essence, a quarter across the board. So seek your approval on the meal prices.
So moved.
Motion by Dr. Malco.
Second.
Second by Dr. Medlin. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And I seek your approval for the professional leave requests that were in your board packet.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Marshall, and I will second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. And then my last item is to seek your approval for all the donations that were listed in your packet, both on the receiving side and to be given out as well.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mrs. Kelly, and a
Second.
second by Mr. Marshall. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, and I don't believe we have any public comments for this evening. Thank you. So we'll move on to our board comments and consideration of future agenda items. Mr. Marshall?
Thank you. First of all, it's nice to have our superintendent back in the country. Also, a big shout out to all our spring sport activities on the female and male side. I might indicate the softball team had a tremendous season. They were defeated, unfortunately, by Penn Madison Harrison. After a 1-1 tie at the start of the season, they had to suspend the game because of lack of lights. Thank you, Bill. Anyway, Penn Madison went on and beat a team from Indianapolis, Roncalli, who throughout the season was 1, 2, 3 in the nation. So we've got nothing to be ashamed of. Lake Central was very competitive with them. And also to our boys baseball team, who unfortunately were beat by Penn Madison Harrison in the last inning. They did a tremendous job this season. They were expected, hopefully, to go one step farther at least, but that tournament has not subsided yet. And I'm sure some of the other sports, I don't have specific play-by-play, but they did a nice job. Track team, tennis team, et cetera. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Kelly.
No comments this evening.
Dr. Medlin?
No comment, thank you.
Dr. Malco?
Mr. Marshall, you summarized it very well.
Thank you.
That was good, and great graduation ceremony. I am so glad that they decided to have it inside and not outside.
Thank you. And I just have one last thing, so this is going to Mrs. Mucha. How lucky we are to have someone that makes saying goodbye so hard. You have been a pillar of the education community and an inspiration to many. It breaks our heart to see you go, but it is a well-deserved retirement. Lake Central is what it is today because of your leadership. We are grateful for your service and wish you a future filled with joy and contentment.
Oh, that's so
Thank
nice.
you.
Thank you. Very nice, thank you.
With that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Baraco.
Maybe I'll just sit out there sometimes. Okay.
You do that.
Public comment.
So we only have one meeting in July, and that is on the 17th. And the location will be in K-Trap, most likely, unless we have recognitions that come up between now and then. And so that's my only item for calendar.
Thank you. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
By Dr. Malco, all in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
All right.